Welcome back. This is going to be the most
Yep.
exciting chapter of the whole series.
Well, it'll hopefully be the shortest. So there.
Reminds me of the
Um,
time I was doing a presentation on pavement management and with GIS, which is a handy thing. It's not flashy though. And the moderator introduced me as going to do the friendliest presentation you've ever seen. It's going to be awesome. It's our friend Scott
oh
Fabro. Anyway, he
no.
just goes on and on. And I look at him like, you jerk, you just dug me a hole I can't get out of. But anyway, this would be more fun than that.
Anyway, today we're going to talk about geodatabases. So you've been using it for this, well, you maybe have been using it for this class. If not, we're going to jump into it. Um, there are two types of GIS data. Shapefiles are the original GIS data format, but they only store one feature at a time. So if you have streets, that's its shapefile. If you have parcels, that's its shapefile. So a geodatabase is a collection. So it's one file, but then underneath it's got all kinds of stuff. But in this one container, you can put in your parcels, you can put in your streets, you can put in anything you want. So let me show you. Let me share my screen. Oh, host disabled participant share screen. Screen sharing. Sorry.
Yep, sorry.
He doesn't want me to show
I
it.
thought it was already working.
It's
Share
okay.
settings. Yeah, they changed how this works. I think I have to go into advanced now because we're
Change
very
is
advanced
bad.
people. Or not. Let's try that again. There we go. Who can share? Bonnie can share. That's who can share.
Hey, let's
Go.
do it. Okay, I'm going to share this one. Share. All right. So you can see by this graphic that it's a graphic of a container. So you get that in your mind. So in the middle, there's feature classes, and that's what we're calling these now. It's not a layer, it's a feature class. Makes it sound a lot more fancy. And that's your points, lines, and polygons. So those are, if you think about it, those are the ones that were previously shapefiles. So it holds all of those. It also can hold tables. So if you have an Excel table, a CSV, or a text table, it can hold all of those things. And it can hold raster data sets, which are, you already know, like aerial photos or georeference drawings or something like that. So it's very nice. You can have um, thing geodatabases for different purposes. So like where I work, I have one for our water system and it has all of the water stuff. Um, Pipes, valves, laterals, all kinds of stuff. And I have a sewer one, I have a storm drain one. And then we have like a major one that has parcels and streets and stuff like that. So it's very handy that way. There are also a few other things that it can store. One of them is relationships. So there's a way that you can tell it that this feature relates in the background to this feature by a certain field. So, and it's actually defined as a thing that resides in the geodatabase. So that's something that's not in our basic class, but that's something that you should know going forward. It can also do typology, which is how a layer or multiple layers, how they have to be. So if there's gaps in the data, it'll notify you of gaps in the data. It's more a spatial way that makes sure all of your data is connecting the way it's supposed to. So in
Like if you
my
have parcels, that there can't be space between your parcels. Parcels um, must have a common line between them. And also, if you have polygons, they have to close. So you can't go, like this and then not have a gap. So
and like for our sewer data, each line has to go to a manhole. It has to, because it has to in real life. So you don't want there being a gap between where your line ends and then here's your manhole. Because if you do any kind of flow or networking, which also you can put in a geodatabase, they have to connect. So relationships, topologies, networks, those can all go in a geodatabase as well. And so then I'm going to stop share. Then the other thing is that within your feature classes, you can have what's called domains. So we used to have a big problem in the city with like street names, and people would type it in. So they would either type it in wrong, or they would use lowercase, or they would spell something wrong, two L's instead of one L or whatever. So with domains, you can tell it what all the values are, and the person has to pick off of a drop down. So for streets, it's kind of a lot, but for like our sewer system, there's maybe 3 types of manholes. So you go in there and you have to pick off of the drop down. That makes it so there aren't as many errors in your data. So domains are very important, and you can set those up as you go along. You can also do what's called feature data sets, which is so with my water, sewer, storm drain, I could have had them all in one geodatabase and did a featured data set for water and a set for sewer and a set for storm drain. That's just depends on what your purpose is and what your preference is. I wanted to set them up as 3 different things, but they could always be separated in the same geodatabase under feature data sets. So you have data sets, and then you have the feature classes within the data sets. Yeah, so there's also 2 different types of geodatabase. There's one called file geodatabase, which is what we use in this class, what Barry uses in his work, what I use in my work. It's a file. So you can share it, you can send it to somebody, you can put it on a drive, and you can share it with people. But the other thing is you can have what's called an enterprise geodatabase, and that resides in like a SQL Server or an Oracle or something like that, an actual geodatabase management place. So that's why we don't use it in class, because we don't have that. But sometimes organizations will have those. It's not something that personal people usually have. So,
And if you do, you'll have somebody who runs it.
or you
So
won't at your
yeah,
job.
or you won't, you're right. In
They'll leave you
theory, you'll have
flailing.
somebody to manage it.
Yes, and that would be your database administrator. So, but yeah, so I just wanted you to know that that is out there as well. Yeah, and then finally, I guess, why would you want to use a geodatabase over a shapefile? They are faster. The data performs faster. It's better organization. You can do a lot more analyses and things with your data in a geodatabase. It just facilitates. Oh, yeah, and with editing too. You can do a lot more with editing in a geodatabase, where you can have different versions of stuff, and each of your team can have a different version, and then it reconciles them together. So, yeah,
Yeah,
did I miss anything, Barry?
no, I think that just the biggest difference with it between shapefile and geodatabase as far as using it is it's easy for a bunch of shapefiles to turn into spaghetti. Like, which one is it? Where is it? And you think, no, 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 I wouldn't have this problem. Like, yeah, you would. And plus, a shapefile is made up of, like 5-ish files, maybe more. And then you miss one, or somebody thinks they're doing a brilliant thing. They send you just the SHP file without all the others. And I think you go back to chapter 2 where we discuss this. Um, and it's just useless. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's easier with the geodatabase.
Did you want to show the files in the our catalog?
Sure, let me move this window over here.
And we can maybe show you in File Explorer too, so you can see it's kind of gibberish behind the scenes. So you're
Yeah.
you're glad that Esri has set up this software to actually read all the mumbo jumbo that it looks like to
Yeah. Hang
us.
on just a second. Let me get
Yeah.
this thing ready over here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dock that. Will it dock? It won't dock. Anyway, okay. I'll just share the whole dang window. Sorry for the foul
Ooh,
talk, but that's where we are. Okay. So
watch your mouth.
share. I know. Talking like a darn sailor. Screen two. All right. Are we up?
Hey, we are, yeah. So
Okay.
you guys all know our catalog.
Yeah. So, and you've seen already, if you've already gone through the book, then you've seen, the things that you can do in catalog and what you can get to. But in this case, let's look at databases. And so here is all of this is in one geodatabase. And so we have an annotation feature, which is adding some of the text that you see.
Yeah.
We
And so you
have,
can see that each different layer has its own different little icon. So if you're not sure what it is, at least that gives you, it narrows it down for you.
and we have electric vehicles charging stations, and those are points. And then we have a couple of LA cities divorced. I don't know why I put that name on it, but sure, it made perfect sense. And then these are places. This is from the census. I recognize that. So anyway, um, and then if we're going to look at what it is in File Explorer, so there's Carson.gdb.
So and it's got the little folder icon, which is great, but you
Yeah,
open the folder and you go, what?
what the, right?
So you really can't manage it in File Explorer.
No,
Whereas you could a little bit with the shapefile. There were things you could do with like the
yeah.
table and stuff.
Oh, one of the other things that you can dump into a geodatabase is zip files. So like if somebody sent you a bunch of data, and you want to make sure that you maintain that original set, you can dump that in too. If it's huge, you might want to extract out just what you want. But anyway,
Not into here through catalog, you would
through
do that.
catalog. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And we already know how
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
So to
So
add items, new, right?
yeah.
We can do new, we can do import, we can export things. See there, we can send it to a new geodatabase, to a shapefile, send just the tables out. Um, yeah, this is catalog used to be a bigger deal and something that we used a lot more. Now, not so much, except for this, is kind of my thought. What do you think?
Which is funny because I never used catalog ever. And but with Pro, they've made it so integral that you have to use it.
Yeah,
And I am warming up to it and I find that I like it now, but yeah, no, it's I went the other way.
yeah, yes. Move to the light
Yeah.
side, something like I
Everybody
don't know.
has their own experience.
Yeah.
So
So I think that's all we have to say on that. It's
yeah,
not complicated. It's a short chapter in the book. Um, so my only advice is just keep that section of the book as your guide of how to do this, because it can remind you of the steps that you need to do. And
if you get
but
somewhere where you're actually designing a really important geodatabase for your organization, there are books about how to design a geodatabase in terms of like
yeah,
the featured data sets, the classes, the domains, the relationships, all that stuff. So there are books and recommendations on that kind of thing. So
and I
seek
should
those out
point
if you're doing that.
Yeah, and I should point out that um, there's also it's such a big thing when you're in a large organization that there are consulting firms out there that this is their thing. So
Okay.
um, not what you will need for your standard in the office generally, but if you're the city of LA or you're a multi-governmental organization, then yeah, you may need to do that at some point. And it's okay. It's okay to ask for help.
And it's much easier to set it up properly from the beginning than try to shuffle it around later. So,
Yeah, like
yeah.
ugh. Been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All
Okay,
right. Well,
so
thanks for joining us.
that's it. Map on.